And now, Legal Perspective with Allie Menegakis.
It's a term we've heard in courtroom dramas, history books, and constitutional debates, and it's far more than just Latin legalese. Habeas corpus is a powerful, centuries-old principle, and here to unpack the role it plays in our justice system today is Allie Menegakis, attorney at Clekis law firm. Allie, great to see you again. Thanks for being here. Okay, what is habeas corpus?
Habeas corpus, it's Latin, obviously, and it means you shall have the body, right? What does that mean? It basically means that if you are detained, either in jail like you're a citizen or for immigration purposes, then you have the right to petition or file what we call a writ of habeas corpus to ask a neutral arbiter, a judge, why am I being detained? Show me the evidence against me, otherwise let me go.
Okay, and I've actually heard, correct me if I'm wrong, it's referred to as the Great Writ sometimes?
Yeah.
Okay. And where is it mentioned or protected in the Constitution?
So it's mentioned in Article 1, Section 9, and if you remember Article 1, there's 3 articles. Article 1 addresses the legislative branch, so Congress.
Okay. And is it applied to everyone? So it's not just U.S. citizens?
Yeah, it's applied again, you know, kind of like we talked about due process the last time. Habeas corpus is a right that everyone enjoys, regardless of whether you're a citizen or not. Now, there are some exceptions when it comes to suspending that, and we can go into that in a little bit, but generally, yes, everyone has a right to habeas corpus.
Okay, so in what kind of situations would someone use habeas corpus?
You know, I'm a criminal defense attorney as well as personal injury attorney, and so that's a big one when it comes to, you know, if you are, we talked about jury trial, right? And being sitting in jail, languishing, waiting for your trial, and you haven't had a bond hearing yet. Let's say it's taking a really long time to get a hearing before a judge to get a bond, which you're entitled to. You can file a writ of habeas corpus saying, get me before a judge now and tell me why you're holding me. It also can be used in immigration cases, deportation kinds of things. Generally, you are allowed, to some extent, habeas corpus rights as well. Okay.
Well, we've been hearing there's been some reports of the Trump administration possibly suspending habeas corpus to expedite deportations. Is that even allowed?
In short, no.
Okay.
And again, the reason is, you know, who has the duty and the power to suspend habeas corpus? Now, technically, in Article 1, Section 9, it does talk about suspension of habeas corpus, really in 2 cases. One is there's rebellion, and the courts have narrowly interpreted rebellion to be rebellion or civil war or invasion from a foreign military force. But again, it's in Article 1, it's only a power that Congress has, and even if, you know, the courts have held, even if the executive branch can try and suspend it, they would need Congress's approval to do so.
Okay. What are the potential implications of suspending something like habeas corpus?
You know, when I think about habeas corpus, I think about, you know, what would happen if I didn't have a right to know why I was being held, right? You know, if we don't have any kind of recourse in these emergency situations, whether you're being detained or deported, and we've talked before about different situations here with Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who was deported to El Salvador as an administrative error. He didn't have that habeas corpus right. He didn't have those due process rights, and he was deported in error, and now he's not coming back, right? At least at this time. We haven't heard of him being able to come back. So the whole point of habeas corpus, like due process, is to be a safety net, because our justice system is not perfect. We know that. There are people that have been convicted, sentenced, executed. The Innocence Project has found out that we're really innocent. So we want to make sure that there's nothing like that happens, and sometimes mistakes happen on both sides. So we want to have a preservation that if you are detaining someone and affecting their liberty, there need to be strict rules that have to be abided by. And when we start to ignore those rules, it's a very slippery slope, because once we do it once, it can be allowed to do again, and before we know it, it's affecting all of us, and you know, again, that's how authoritarian regimes are created, not overnight, but by ignoring one right at a time.
So unfortunately, this is very much above us and out of our hands. Really, Congress is the only one that can do something about this. But having these conversations are hopefully moving the needle forward, and it's more important now than ever to have these conversations.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, we have a voice right, too.
Yeah,
we have a First Amendment
do.
right, and we can talk about it to our family members and friends. We can contact our elected representatives and tell them this is important and we need it to be protected for everyone, otherwise everyone's at risk.
Yeah. And of course, any of your legal needs, questions, Clekis Law Firm, 8439000000, Clekis.com is where you can go. Allie, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Pleasure.
We're back after this.
This has been Legal Perspective with Allie Menegakis.